This is 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 8. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with Yahweh Shemashai as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. And a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect in the same Spirit. Lord willing, y'all all continue in sound doctrine in the same Spirit. Shalom to the Akwath, believers of His faith and His truth. Lord willing, you continue to pursue your lot, being a loving and silent, virtuous wife. And Lord willing, Yahweh Shemashai have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. Right, we're going into 2Esdras, the 14th chapter, verse 11 and 12. Lord willing, we just keep this short and straight to the point. So when you look at 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 8, this even helps you to understand the Lord's time. So a day to the Lord is 1,000 years. But look at our time. It's a day. One day is one day. And when you think of 1,000 years, you think of like literally 1,000 years. But one day to the Lord is 1,000. So when we go back to Genesis, in the beginning, when He created everything, it was the first time He created the heavens and the earth and everything. That first day, it was 1,000. Then the next 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, and then He rested. Let's go to 2Esdras, the 14th chapter. Lord willing, you got that. I'm gonna read this in the KJV and in the G&T. It says, "For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of the 10th part. And there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part." In the G&T, the whole history of the world is divided into 12 periods, and the 10th period has already arrived, and it is half over. Only 2.5 parts remain. Right? So 12 periods. So if everything was created and it finished 7,000, how He did it, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, so on and so on. The time when Ezra was on the scene, because this is Ezra. If we was to look between Ezra and Yahushai, Ezra was on the scene about the time of 905,000, right? Because that would be 10.5. 9,500. But how it says 10 parts has already arrived. That would be 10,000 have arrived. And it's half over. The half that's going to be over is the 500 when Yahushai come on the scene. If we was to look between Ezra until when Yahushai started His public ministry from we could look at Ezra about 450 BC, 500 BC to Yahushai bring forth the ministry, or about the time of Him being crucified, 30 AD would be about 480 years, right? It will be about 480 years before Yahushai came on the scene. So if I go to 2Esdras, the 7th chapter, which Ezra spoke about Yahushai in verse 28, it says, "For my son Yahushai shall be revealed with those that be with Him, and they that remain in and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years." Yahushai eventually comes on the scene, right? When you go to when you go to Luke, the 2nd chapter, and I'm looking for Simeon. Where is it at? Okay. This is Luke chapter 2, verse 25. "And behold, there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Simeon, and the same man was just and devout, waiting for the consolation of Israel, and the Rakakwadash was upon him. And it was revealed unto him by the Rakakwadash that he should not see death before he had seen the Lord's Hamashiach, the Lord's anointed. And he came by the Spirit into the temple. And when the parents brought in the child Yahushai to do for him after the customs of the law, which, approximately Yahushai on the scene from birth, 2 to 4 BC. Then took he him up in his arms and blessed the Most High and said, Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace according to thy word. For my eyes have seen thy salvation. It was Yahushai, right? And going back to 2Esdras, the 14th chapter, again, the world is divided into 12 parts, 12 periods, and the 10 parts of it are gone already or arrived in half of the 10th part. The half will be the 500, right? So if Ezra was in the scene 9,500 years when the world was created or established and everything else, 500 years after, right, the half of 10, right, would be 500, right? What's half of 10? If you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What's half of 10? 5. So say if it's 10,000, what's half? Well, if 9,500, still what's half? What's half of 1,000? If the Lord's time is 1,000, what we read in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8, right? What's half of 1,000? 500, right? Then verse 12, and there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th in the GNT, and it is half over, only 2.5 parts remain. So now if Yahushua is on the scene, which really, when you go to 2Esdras 6th chapter, even Ezra was asking what's the end of the time. The end of the time is the age, is the end of Esau, right? He's the end of this age, right? By Ezra's time, around the Persian captivity, right? Because you got to understand, Ezra came, right, during the time of the Persian Empire after the Babylonian captivity, right? He comes right after the reign of Cyrus and Darius, right? When the Israelites were allowed to return and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. That's the time when Cyrus, when you go to Isaiah, he's anointed by the Father, right, to allow the children of Israel to go rebuild the temple. Ezra chapter 1, verse 1 to 4, Ezra 7 to 6, and you can even read Ezra the 4th chapter, because that even goes into it when the other nations around was trying to stop them from building the temple, right? I want to say another few more points. So that means that majority of the world's course has already finished in Ezra's time. What is that? The 10th part has already arrived, right? We're already in that 10th part with Ezra. In half Salaki. In the 10th part, the 10th period has already arrived. Now, to fulfill the other half of that, to fulfill the half of 10, right? What would be 500? Yahushai comes in the scene after 11, but there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th, right? Because there's time remaining after that, right? So when we look again, 12 periods. So if Yahushai is around in a period of this world being here for 10,000 years, right? But if we look at the time we're here, 2025, everybody, we all say Yahushai was on the earth approximately 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago. If he was born so-called 2 to 4 BC, from the time we at right now, that's 2,000 years ago, right? So there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th, right? In the GNT, of course, it says, and it says only 2.5 parts remain, right? And it's going to mean that 1.5 part remain until the completion of this world age, right? And all stems from the time that we're in right now. When you go into Genesis, the 15th chapter, right? The Lord told Abraham that his descendants would be in the land for 400 years. Basically, they would be getting afflicted for 400 years. But then when they leave that land, they're going to come out with great substance. They're going to spoil the Egyptians, right? Taking multiple possessions, gold and silver, right? And you could go in Exodus and you'll see when they came out, it was 430 years. So now what I want to do is I want to get a few precepts, because even when you look at us, right, when it comes to our life, Yahweh Shemal Shai knows when we gonna die, when we ain't gonna. Everything has a time. So if we have a time, the world has a time. And we know in Matthew 24:22, the Lord has shortened the days for the elect's sake, right? So time is moving, right? Because Ezra was being told the world was already in its final stages thousands of years ago. Even the Lord expounded in the 14th chapter to Ezra about the fourth beast, right? Which he expounded a little deeper than he did with Daniel. Because when Yahushua come on the scene, the children of Israel is oppressed, especially in the second chapter, verse 1 down to 5, they're being taxed by Caesar Augustus, right? 12 feathers. Second Esdras, the 11th chapter, which is division. Second Esdras, Second Esdras, the 11th chapter is the vision. Second Esdras, the 11th chapter is the interpretation of the vision. And of course, we know the little horn in Daniel, the 7th chapter, verse 8, stems or is the revival of Rome, right? So that little horn did not come in the time of Yahushua. It came later on, right? So now, let's just do this real quick. Let's go to Job, the 14th chapter. And let's read verse 5, KJV and NLT. It says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Right? In the NLT, it says, you have decided the length of our lives. You know how many months we will live, and we are not given a minute longer. Now, even when we go to 2 Esdras, the 5th chapter, verse 50 down, it even tells you that even our stature and our lifespan got shortened. Because Methuselah was the oldest man on the earth, right? As number-wise, like 900, right? Now, Jake can only make it past 50, some 80, hey, a few, 100, right? And it's the same with how this world is, because it said it's 12 parts, it's 12 periods, right? Divided in this world cycle, right? So the Most High already set the measure of time for this world. So if he do it for your age, for your lifespan, he does it the same for this world. So let's get Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3. I'll do the same. Read this in the KJV and the NLT. It says, for the vision is yet for appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Right? In the NLT, this vision is for a future time and describes the end, and it will be fulfilled. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently for it, will surely take place. Right? It will not be delayed. So in the same, even dealing with Ezra, right? When you look at the time that he was in, right? The 10th period has already arrived, which that's the time that he is in, right? The 950, and it arrived leading up to who? And it is half over, right? So the 10th part is that 9,500, and it's going to be over and when Yahushua get on the scene, right? Which is that 500. That 500, that's that which we would say 10,000 period, right, of the world, right? The whole history of the world is divided into 12 periods, right? So if we was to look at Yahushua time, right, he's in the 10th period, right? He's finished. He's that end time of Yahushua is in the 10th period, right? So the prophecy of the end is fixed, right? Because it's not going to tarry, right? So we have to wait on these things. Now, let me go back. Let me go to 2 Esdras, the 4th chapter, in verse 37. And it reads, it says, by measure have he measured the times. 2 Esdras chapter 9. Measure the times, and we got to look at the signs, right? It says, and by number have he numbered the times, and he doeth not move nor stir them until he said, measure until the set measure be fulfilled. What measure had to be fulfilled, right? When we go back and we read verse 12, where it says, and there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part. You got to understand, at the end of all of this, what is completed? The 12th part. So if we was to look, if Yahushua was here 2,000 years ago, we're in that 12th period right now. Come on, man. We're in the 12th period. Like when the elder apostles say, man, we're in the end, right? When you understand Revelations 11, Yahushua opened up the seal. Revelation, the 5th chapter. Now his name is revealed unto us. Isaiah 52:6, reading the KJV and the NLT, it says that his name is revealed unto his people. We know the name, Yahushua, right? So 2 Esdras, the 14th chapter, verse 11 and 12, is telling us that the world history was divided into 12 prophetic stages or periods, right? By Ezra's time, over 10 and a half parts had already passed, leaving only about 1.5 to go. This means the world has already been close to its appointed end. When we go to Acts, the 1st chapter, what is it, verse 6, even the apostles said, hey, are you going to restore the kingdom of heaven? At that time, Rome was ruling. Then when he gave up the ghost, Rome was still ruling. Then Rome fell later on after the 12th Caesar, right? Then it started going into like the Dark Ages, right? And then that fell. Esau, Revelation, the 20th chapter, was in the caves. They were locked up, right? They were servants, peasants, subjects. Then those keys was unlocked. And then now they're going to rule for a appointed time, which is going to fulfill Daniel, the 7th chapter, verse 8, because then it was going to establish the little horn, which is America, that whore in Revelation, the 17th chapter. So this means that the world has always been close to its appointed time, and the Most High set limits on how long the wicked rulership would last before Yahushua returned to establish his kingdom, right? And we see in 2 Esdras, the 6th chapter, right, when Ezra is asking, when shall be the end? And he tell him, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning that followeth. So that means Esau is the end of this age, or he's the end of the period. He's the end of the period, right? He's going to fall in the 12th part, because if the world is expanded, right, or divided in 12 parts, he's going to end in the 12th part, and Jacob's beginning is following after, which is going to be forever, ever, and ever, and ever, and ever, and ever, and ever. The Lord made that kingdom an everlasting kingdom, right? Which it won't never fall, ever be taken. Daniel, the 2nd chapter and the 2nd chapter and the 7th chapter go into that. Lord willing, you was edified. This was straight on the point. Lord willing, you understood it. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Almighty Shalom to the all for elect in the same spirit. Lord willing, y'all all can continue in sound doctrine in the same spirit. Shalom to the Aqua, the believers of this faith and this truth. Lord willing, y'all all continue to pursue your lot, being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. And Lord willing, the Most have mercy on the other brothers and sisters not of faith. Shalom, shalom, abba, abba.